Hi, and welcome to Backstage. I'm here with Mark Cuban, and I'm Sarah Buhr, one of the writers at TechCrunch. Mark, you were just on stage, and you were talking about saying invest outside of Silicon Valley.
Right.
What did you mean by that?
Well, the valuations in the Valley are completely different than they are outside. And I think there's just as much talent available outside this little area right here across the other 49 states as there is inside. And so I think for my personal investment in private companies in particular, I try to find better valuations, better opportunities, and it's just easier, right? And it's just such a different culture that working with the companies is easier as well.
Right, there's kind of these little pop-up hubs that are like Silicon Valley starting to form.
Well, New York and LA kind of trying to be baby valleys, but I think what they're missing, sources of capital is not a problem anywhere in the country, right? You can go on angel list. It's so easy to find capital. The challenge is really looking for the exits, right? Who's going to buy your company when you're ready to sell it, or who's going to help you find an exit or help you grow to a point where you won't even consider an exit. And I think Silicon Valley still excels at that, but that also creates an arbitrage opportunity where you get to buy cheap outside the Valley and sell expensive inside the Valley, and that's part of the opportunity I look for.
There's almost like this movement where people are able to get angel funding or Series A outside the Valley, but it's really hard a lot of the time to get that Series B or Series C.
Right.
So people tend to move to the Valley for that.
To get that, right?
Yeah.
Because I think there's a couple reasons. I think too many founders think that getting that initial funding is an accomplishment when it's not. That you really have to, you have to have a company that you run, right? And it has to have some level of success. And so I think in the rest of the country, the gauge for a second round of funding or a third round is really how well is your company doing. Where here in the Valley, I think there's still open to, okay, we'll invest in the idea and the concept, and where you are business-wise is not quite as important.
Okay, so now, there's actually a lot of investment in things that it's not very clear that it's going to make money in the very beginning.
Right.
Sometimes people like to say that Silicon Valley's in a bubble because we're investing in things like Yo or...
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
No, okay.
Right? Because there is a path from volume to revenue, and there's a long history of companies that have been able to leverage user base to create revenue. So it's not so much whether it's Yo really isn't about users. Yo's is about transport, right? Just the basic app was a great way to demonstrate what they can do, and I think people bought into it. I have no problem with that. Snapchat, there's a long list, but at the same time, there are a lot of companies that don't have that, right? They want to be the next something. They want to be, whenever I hear someone say they're going to be the next anything, it's typally not an area.
Your tweakers go up.
And I'm just like, no. When 10,000 people are chasing the same thing.
Too much hype.
Yeah, who wants to be 10,001? I want to go into new territory. And look, I've blown it. Like I said up there, I had a chance to invest with Travis in Uber, and I just thought
Uber for everything. Uber for
and still, my point to him back then was that there were going to be a lot of expensive regulatory hurdles, and that's exactly what he's finding. But he's still done a great job pounding through them. And my nature isn't to invest in things that I think are going to take $1 billion in financing in order to be successful. But in the Valley, that's exactly what they look for, right? They want those types of deals where ubiquity drives. And so I think to answer your question, I think that's a good reason why the arbitrage I was referring to works, because you can get funding or you can invest in companies less expensively outside the Valley, but when they fit the Valley mentality, it's very easy to bring them here.
I see. So thank you so much for coming on with us.
Anytime.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
Enjoyed
Sarah.
your company.
I always do.